Welcome to another edition of Interview with DJ Nocturna, and thank you for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and please hit the bell near the subscribe button. And if you're listening on my podcast or the Queen of Wands radio program, thank you for listening. This show will air on Saturday, September 11, 2021, and my guest is the King of the Wolves, if I may call him that. He's an artist, he's a multi-instrumentalist, producer, painter, and one of the founding members of Ego Likeness and his projects as well. His solo projects, Hopeful Machines and Stoneburner, the one and only Stephen Archer.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know, I tend to put all these words into introducing somebody. I think it's my Sagittarius in me. Because I like to, I don't know, you got to put significant things in there, you know what I'm saying? Especially when
and you know, some people I think are difficult to put in little boxes, you know, and
yeah,
I do an awful lot of stuff, so
I know. Yeah, you're I mean, I couldn't believe all the stuff I was reading about you. Some of the things I didn't know. Okay, so I'm just I'm so happy, so glad to have you on the show, and thank you again. So you know, for those who may not know what Stoneburner means, because you know it's a great name, and I know where you took the name from, but for those who may not know, I know it's taken from your vision of the works of Frank Herbert's Dune.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weapon from the Dune universe. It's funny because I knew I tend to use names as a way of locking things down, and I knew what the band was called for about 3 or 4 years before I had any music written for it. And you know, one day I was just screwing around, and I actually finally found the sound for it, and so that was a very exciting moment because I knew it was somewhere in my head, but I had to find the right sound to match the name.
Yeah. How did that come about? How did you get into music? You know,
into music? Well, I mean, I've always it's been always been a huge part of my life, and I mean, I had my first band when I was probably 18 or 19, and started, well, no, older than that, probably about 20. But I started DJing in clubs when I was 18, and so you know, it's always been there, and it's just like anything else, though. I mean, I went to school for fine arts. Everything I do with music is all self-taught. So, but I mean, it to me, it's all, you know, it's all exactly the same thing. It's just different tools, just different ways of communicating.
Yeah, because I know you're also a DJ. Do you still DJ a lot?
No, not really. Every once in a while, like I had a set a month or so ago back in DC, and I'll be spinning on the Goth Cruise coming up and playing.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, that's what Andy was telling me, that you guys are going on the Goth Cruise, and I go, that's so cool. I wish I can go. No, I can't. I work and everything else. You know, it's kind of hard. I wish I could. Next time.
Well,
maybe in the future. I would like to do that. I think he said it's by Florida and it's coming up, and
yeah, about 3 weeks or something.
So is your DJ name DJ Stoneburner, or?
Oh no, it's just Stephen Archer.
Okay.
I've never had a cool name.
Well, you got a cool name, Stoneburner.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah. So you know, I know you're also a painter. You graduated from the, let me see, what is the name of the university? It's in
Corcoran?
DC. Yeah.
Cool.
And I've seen some of your work, and they are really just stunning. You know, I mean, they definitely get your attention. I know you've been busy with that. What is your favorite media?
Well, I mean, everything I do as far as painting goes is all it's all oil and graphite. But I also do, you know, I don't really have a favorite. I just use whatever I need to use to make the thing work. You know, sometimes it's a text, sometimes it's a song, sometimes it's sculpture. It's really
Yeah.
what I use is much less relevant than how or why.
Yeah, and I know you're also a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and you wrote a children's book.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that. I was watching one of your videos. You were
Mhm.
showing the pictures of. So did you do all the paintings in there?
I did, yeah. Luna Maris. It's I don't actually really do children. I don't understand kids. I don't really like kids, but I'm happy for people that do, and but I think it's a great medium for talking about what I think are important ideas. And Luna Maris was uh, actually came out of a sketch I had done of just this little kind of crescent shaped boat with a sort of a pinwheel sticking out of it. And a friend of mine said, she's like, oh, it's like the moon came out of the sky and turned into a boat. And I said, that's beautiful. I'm going to steal it. And so I wrote the book based on this idea that she had. And it's basically about how the moon comes out of the sky and turns into a boat to visit the ocean and learn about the ocean. But in the end, the main story or main takeaway from it is that you just have to be who you are no matter what. It's just that's the best way to I don't know, contribute to the world or whatever. I also think it's probably the only children's book with a coelacanth in it, so that's something I'm pretty happy with as well. But yeah, I did all the illustrations for it, and one of these days I've got another one that I'm going to do, but
Yeah,
it's one of
another
the
one.
big projects. Yeah,
Oh, okay. I know you seem to be influenced a lot with sci-fi.
science fiction. Yeah, I mean, I actually, it's funny. I read a lot of science fiction, but more than anything else, I read a lot of just contemporary fiction. Because I like it's strange. I just turned 50, and my my life is kind of a world away from reality. Like we live in the woods. I've been married for over 20 years. I make art as a living. I don't leave the house unless somebody's paying me to do it. And then every once in a while I go out and my job is to show off to people. So
Mhm.
I have no real interaction with the outside world all that much. So I read a lot of contemporary fiction to try and kind of learn about how other people work, and that actually is gets into the whole autism thing that we were asking about earlier. It's
Yeah.
a way to learn to interact with people a little bit better.
I know in 2014 you were commissioned by NASA too. Speaking
Oh
of
yeah.
science, yeah, to write a score for this video, right? How,
Hmm.
how, how
Yeah.
did how did you get approached by them?
Well, it actually just worked out well. I the one of the people working on the video is a fan, and he just got in touch with me about it, and it was actually the second time that I had been to NASA because they had invited me down to read Luna Maris actually to their Goddard school to the kids there. So that was fun. But it's neat because when you go and you do that, they take you kind of on through all of the inner workings of the buildings. And we were able to look down and actually look at the James Webb Telescope when it was being built in kind of the world's largest clean room. So that was really amazing. Or we got to see the centrifuges they use to test astronauts with. Or they at one point they were like, yeah, so when we're testing satellites, we take them and we put them over in that thing and ramp the temperature up to the heat of the sun just to see if they'll melt. So that was very cool, being able to do that, and then just being able to. So it's funny, the song that I ended up using, I had written a few years prior to that. Most of it, I had to augment it for NASA, but I had
Mhm.
written it because I grew up watching the original Cosmos, my mother, and that music was so influential on what I do. And so I was kind of writing this one song based on the idea of that and that style. And so when I went into NASA, I played a few different things for them as just kind of starting points. And I played that, and they were like, "That's perfect." So it was kind of a nice full circle sort of thing for them.
Well, who are some of your musical inspiration? You know.
Oh, well, I mean, early on, Tangerine Dream. I was listening to Tangerine Dream when I was like, 10 or something, which did not make me cool. The Also Pink Floyd and things like that. But around, well, whenever it came out, 1985, I want to say, "Who's Afraid" by The Art of Noise came out, and I
Right.
saw the video for that on Night Flight,
Mhm.
and it was amazing. Like I'd never, well, there hadn't really been anything quite like it, and so that would just blew me away. And then when I was like a little bit older than that, I got into punk, and when I was about 16 or so, I discovered Skinny Puppy, and all of a sudden it was just like, oh, this is everything I like, kind of all at once. Uh, and that was pretty much it. So I spent the majority of my teen years listening to a lot of Skinny Puppy and Fetus and Big Black and
Mhm.
Ministry and
Mhm.
Sister
Oh, yeah.
Fields and
But
Nephilim and all that stuff. Um, so those are all huge influences on what I do. Tangerine Dream is still a big part of it. And later, Cop Shoot Cop is a pretty big influence on the Stoneburner stuff, although it might not be as apparent to anybody else as it is to me. I Their keyboard player, sample player, this guy named Jim Coleman, and I became friends over the years. And
Mhm.
when I finished up the last full-length Belligerence, I was like, so Jim, I sampled the shit out of your record, and I don't even feel bad about it. He was like, "No, that's great, thank you." So yeah, there's a lot of little rhythms and things in there that were taken directly from Cop Sheet Cop.
And of course, your band Ego Likeness. That's a
Mhm.
for the fans of Ego Likeness. I always wanted to ask you, how did you and Donna meet? You
Oh
know.
well, it was kind of inevitable. She was the assistant manager at the local punk rock shop back before Hot Topic existed. There was
Oh,
a store called
DC
Sticky Fingers in Fells Point in Baltimore,
in Baltimore.
and she was the assistant manager there. And I was one of the local DJ guys, so it was just kind of inevitable that would we'd end up meeting. Um, but the thing that was amazing and is still amazing is that you meet a lot of people, and that she was 23 and I was 26 or 27, and she at one point was telling me, she's like, I write poetry, and it's just like, of course you do, and Legacy, of course you do. And the thing is that I read it and it was amazing. Like it was really good. It's so good, in fact, that we still sell it in one of our chapbooks we bring out on tour. The stuff that she wrote in high school is, as good, if not better, than a lot of the output many adults have. And I have always been in bands. I came from the give me 3 chords and I'll write you a song sort of school of music. And she went to school from the age of 5 for piano and opera. And so it worked out well because she had a skill set that I didn't have. And I knew how to write songs, but, didn't have the elegance or the skill level that she had. So we had this band for a while, and half of it decided to move to LA and try and become famous, which did not work. And so we started Ego as a side project, and took out a loan and just bought some gear and learned how to use it.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was it. And the thing that kind of blows me away is that, I guess a few years ago, Metropolis put out these demos that we recorded knowing nothing about audio production. And, they're still out in the world. on the Songs from the Dead City CDs. So, this thing that we recorded, in our hot little apartment in downtown Baltimore, sitting on the floor. Those CDs actually have the first recordings we ever did, which were just kind of these weird poetry, noise, spoken word things.
Yeah. So, do you guys have any upcoming projects for Ego Likeness?
Ego. Well, we're playing a show at a convention in New Jersey in the next month and a half or so. But right now, I'm focusing on Stoneburner a lot. Although, she sang on the song Spectrum, and the next single is called Contracting Iris. And so, speaking of science fiction, so the last full-length record I did, Technology Implies World.
You see it right here.
Yeah. Well, that's the last one though I did before that a couple of years ago. It was sort of based on some ideas in a book called Blind Sight by Peter Watts. And so when I wrote this song, Peter and I have become friends over the years. And when I wrote this song, I was like, hey, this is kind of right up your alley. Are you interested in maybe writing a short story based on it? Which he did. And so the next single will have the audio version of that story with Donna reading it. And it's, it's very cool kind of cinematic audio. It's got its own score and everything for it. So it's fun to collaborate with her that way. It was neat because I was sitting there editing it, and it's so second nature after having, I've been working with her spoken word for 20 something years now. And so it's just kind of an interesting moment of, oh, right, okay, we're doing this now, and kind of back into that space. I have always felt incredibly privileged to work with such an incredible singer. And I'm not just saying that because she's my wife. I'm from a pure technical standpoint, we used to play a game where I would say, here, sing E4, and she would sing the note out and I would hit it on a piano, and it was always right. But it's not just that. It's one of the reasons she's so great for working with for audiobook types of things is her delivery is very smooth and consistent. And so there's so, I don't know how, even if taking everything else away, just I don't know if Ego could have done it, to whatever degree as well as whatever we've done. Without there's so little you have to do to go fix anything, because the notes are always on. I think in our entire career, I had to pitch shift one note once 15 years ago. For some reason, she just couldn't hear it quite right in her head. But otherwise, I've never had to go in and adjust anything with her vocals, because it's just that, you barely have to put any compression or other things on it to keep them.
She's got a beautiful voice.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, the first time you saw her, did you know that you guys are going to be working together and it's going to be
No. She hit on me about 3 times before I kind of got a clue what was going on. And again, going back to the autism thing, you just don't notice those social cues. And she literally had to pretty much say, everybody knows I think you're hot, before I kind of got it through what was going on. And, even after that, I am not the easiest person to communicate with, because I tend to not understand when something is a joke or when something is an attempt to be subtle. And so if somebody asks a question, I will answer it. And, so being with somebody like that can be certainly very difficult. So, but
there must be some kind of, you know, telepathy, you know, something that connected you guys.
We, yeah, you know, for me, one of the things for me anyway is that I have spent my job, the thing that I have built myself for from the age of 5 on, and I don't say that lightly. It's not being over dramatic. I was doing, I was in college art courses at 16. I was showing at 16. I have spent my whole life learning to make stuff. My job is coming up with ideas, and it takes a lot for me to stay engaged with someone. And a big part of the thing with Donna is that she is constantly coming up with stuff that would never have occurred to me. You know, I'll go back or I'll go and I'll read her books, and I'm just like, where did that even come from? You know, like that would never have I would never have put those things together. So that's she's one of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life. And I think, though, in the end, it comes down to the fact that we both have a really stupid sense of humor.
I mean, that's just beautiful. I mean, that's just beautiful.
Like today, we were literally just texting the exact same picture back and forth to each other. Like when neither of us, when one of us wasn't expected, we would just send the same picture to the other one. But I mean, also the flip side of it is that we're together because we've worked our asses off to be together. Like we have both. I mean, we're both pretty seriously mentally ill and have spent. No, it's not funny. It's really painfully difficult, and we've lost years to each other trying to be supportive while the other person is in flames, while they go through finding the medication and then being on it for 3 or 4 5 6 months and then weaning off of it for 3 or 4 5 6 months. And it's something we're incredibly proud of that we've been able to pull off, because it's, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about that, about how really when you're being in love with somebody, it comes down to finding the person that you want to be a better person for.
That's very true.
And that's not easy, and it's not a common thing. You know, somebody that is contributing enough to your life that it makes you willing to basically rebuild yourself, tear yourself down and rebuild yourself. And both of us have done that multiple times in our marriage. And in the end, that's the thing that's really, I'm not going to say it's kept us together, but it's certainly, if either of us had not done it, or had just kind of decided, well, nope, this is me and that's it, and you're just going to have to deal with it, that would have been both of us. I mean, one of my examples I always give is early on, Donna was one of the only people I've ever had in my life who basically straight up grabbed me and said, I'm not going to let you treat me like an asshole. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to learn how to not do that. And, you know, that's a gross oversimplification, but I mean, it basically, in the end, I suppose that's what it comes down to for everything is kind of hitting all.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I always felt like you guys have a very special connection. I mean, I can feel it, you know, and then now you're expressing that to me, I feel it even more.
Oh, good. I mean, it's
a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Willing to put the work into can't have, but it's you know, we I don't know. I think it is special, and but I also, it's special because we've made it special. It's special because we want it to be special. It's not for any other reason other than we've just put that work into it and tried to learn how to allow the other person, or allow ourselves to be okay with the other person being who they are and doing what they need in order to function. And you know, so and that's different, and it changes, you know, throughout your life. There are different things you need. Sometimes Donna will go down, I always call it the hole, but we'll go down the hole with writing and disappear for a month or 2 months into that hole. Or I do that all the time when I'm, you know, I've been down the hole for the last 3 or 4 months, getting stuff together for shows and finishing the record and doing videos and all that stuff. And you just have to learn that you know, you can't always be the number one priority at every moment. You know, you have to allow your partners to do the things that they need to be able to do in order to be happy.
Yeah, that's very true. You know, and you know, thank you both for doing what you're doing, and for, you know, your music, and for sharing your, you know, your special memories. You know, thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.
You know,
I'm glad that anything anything that we do right, it's because we've done it wrong every other way possible.
no, that's very true. Everything you're saying is absolutely true. You know, now you have a new album that's coming out. It's going to be released on well, Friday, September 9th, called the Apex Predator, which is I have right here from Comp International, and it's going to be produced by the legendary producer John Fryer. And a big shout out to Christian. And tell us what this album is about. I know it's coming out, and they have the lyrics in here also.
The record, I always need to, whenever I do a record, it always helps me if I can nail down the overall theme for it. And I wrote that record tail end of last year into this year, and it's very much about anger and my just all-consuming rage at the people who have contributed to getting our society to this point where we are fighting weaponized ignorance. You know, with the last administration, the anti-vax freaking idiots, you know, like I was talking to a friend of mine who's a minister, and oh, okay, there we go. Tonight, actually, and I'm so completely I lack the words to express how enraged I am with the fact that we have just these large portions of society who are unable to comprehend basic science and basic understanding, and how, you know, and are doing it in the name of their own freedom, and just how selfish and ridiculous that is. So Apex Predator touches on a lot of that, and also it's yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of the main theme, not that specific thing, but just kind of, I kind of get to be in this privileged position where I get to literally get in front of people with a really big stereo system and scream at them. And so I kind of wanted to do that and give myself that. Once again, you get to be a certain age and you just kind of sort of decide, fuck it, and I'm just going to do this thing that needs to exist, and talk about the problems I think are issues. And Apex Predator is very much about both talking about the beauty and the horror that I guess happens in our world right now, is happening in our world right now.
So one of the singles is called Spectrum.
Yes.
And this is one of the tracks in the album. It's a special one, and I wanted to read this little your statement. Is that okay if I read your statement?
Yeah,
I think it's a beautiful thing that you wrote. I have never interacted with people well. I don't understand them, and often they don't understand me. I'm fine doing what I do in my corner of the world, which oddly enough is something else they didn't understand. Why? Because I am the 1% of the population with autistic spectrum disorder, and that's the name of the song. It's pretty minimum for me. I can, as they say, pass. You wouldn't know it talking to me at first, but eventually I will put you off by responding in a way that is that is the social norm. Um, as I write this, I'm sitting in a bar with friends, and the only time I had anything to say was when someone asked me to explain the weird ass MIDI guitar controller I'm building, which caused me to go into just otaku level of details about it because it's fucking cool. Um, the spectrum runs from people like myself all the way to, for example, a kid I went to school with who completely lacked the ability to prioritize sensory information and everything between. The more we come to understand this condition, I don't like calling it a disorder, the more we see how many creative and innovative people are on the spectrum, and all of them have fought through this stigma that goes along with being different and trying to function in a world that you just don't fit in. This song's about my personal experiences and to why, and as a way of reminding others that they aren't alone. And thank you for writing that. I think it's very special. I know several people that are also have autism, and I know you've been an advocate for increased awareness and understanding of the stigma, and it's faced by many autistic individuals. So thank you.
I'm just trying to help people understand that there is no one standard model of person, and trying to fit people that are perfectly fantastic and amazing people into a society that hasn't has these square holes, and they expect you to act certain ways or whatever. It's so incredibly limiting. Like that's one of the cool things about these things. It's like if you learn to really work with people like this, people like myself, like I was talking to somebody about this the other day, how like I'm really, really bad with all this stuff out there, out in the real world. But if you let me do the stuff I'm good at, then I can really contribute, and I can bring things to the table. But if you try and force me into that mold, it's not going to work out well for anybody. You're going to be disappointed. I'm going to be frustrated.
Oh, yeah.
It just won't. My last real job was 10 or 11 years ago, and I explained to my boss, so it was kind of this mom and pop sort of, actually pop and pop sort of computer store, and I was explaining to them how, like, if you let me take like a half hour, 45-minute nap after lunch, I will get twice as much done as anybody else in the store. But if you don't, I'm going to get half as much, just because I know how my brain works. I know that it's like if I can reset it every so often, then I'm in really good shape. So it's, or I've got another friend who's a lawyer, and he says, it's perfect for me because I will go in, I will have these really intense meetings, and then I can shut my door and I can take a 15-minute nap and I'm fine. And it's not the solution for everybody, but the point is that once you figure out what your systems are. Another example is I have a sleep disorder called a delayed phase syndrome or something like that. Basically what it means is my circadian rhythms are offset. So most people are tired at like 10 or 11 at night or before that. I don't. I get tired at about 7 or 8 in the morning. It's remarkably inconvenient if you're trying to interact in the real world. If you just let me do my thing, I'm perfectly happy to basically whenever I get up, and then I work until I pass out and go to sleep every night. And it's one of the reasons I'm able to get as much done as I do. But if I end up having to interface with the real world, even if my body is awake, I am not there. So you just learn what you need in order to function well, and that helps you, and then you're able to really bring all of that to the table, and you're able to start using some of these divergent skill sets as tools. Like I'm able to produce a lot of stuff really, really fast if
Oh yeah, yeah, I see that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because I've got these systems down that I know how to work with the way my brain works. So
Yeah,
it's
no, I totally see that. You have so many talents. You're very multi-talented too in so many ways. You're an artist, you're a writer. I mean,
well, like I said, it's really, it's all the same thing. You just kind of make the decision that you're going to do it. Like I when I learned to play guitar, and I'm not a great guitar player at all. I can play our songs and I'm good at that, and I can write our songs. I'm good at that. But that's all I ever really needed to be able to do. But my point is that when you're already good at something and you're trying to learn another thing, there's always this little voice in the back of your head. It's like, well, why bother? Why even put time into doing this? You're never going to be good at this as you are at that. And I got mad at myself at one point when that was going on in my head about the guitar, and I was like, shut up. You know people that are idiots that can play guitar. You've got the two prerequisites. You have hands and you have a brain. This isn't that hard. And so you just put the time in to learn. I mean, like I learned to do video editing because the person who, for our very first video, we did the song called Aviary.
yeah, I love that. I just played it.
Oh, all right. Well, the person
I played over the weekend. Yeah.
Was mentally ill and disappeared about a week before we had to turn it into our record label. And so I had to go and after getting her into a hospital, I had to then go and get all the files, and I had a week to learn how to do video editing, and so it's just you just make the decision that you can learn to do it, and that it's going to be difficult and you're not going to be very good at first, and that's okay. When we did Songs from a Dead City, that record is all dirty, noisy trip hop. And the reason it's dirty, noisy trip hop is because you can be very fluid and abstract with song structures, and you don't have to have beautiful, perfect production. And I knew that we weren't going to have beautiful, perfect production using my 4-track and, a 15-year-old sampler and the few other tools that we had at the time. So, we worked within the limitations of what we knew to allow it to be what it was. So I think that you can always learn to do new things, and you can do it quickly if you just accept where that there are limitations and that you're not going to be all that great at it, but good ideas are still good ideas. And like I have often compensated for the fact, like I do a lot of music videos that are fairly high concept, and the special effects in order to create them are not perfect, they're not great, but my hope is that in the end the person watching it won't care because the ideas are interesting. And
yeah, they're great videos. So you do you do all your videos then?
I do all of them.
Wow. Well, I was going to ask how did you get together with Christian and the Comp International?
Well, so I was on another record label for Stoneburner a few years ago, and we had a real serious falling out. And I was pretty much over the idea, because you don't, with Bandcamp and things like that, you don't need to have a record label. The thing is that we did that. We started a record label back when Ego started at first, and the major benefit for me personally of being on a record label is distribution. I hate having to deal with distribution. So it is worth, the amount of money that they make to not have to worry about that stuff. So my buddies over in Stabbing Westward are on COP, And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's great for them. And it was surprising to me because I had interacted with Cop 25 years ago when I was DJing way more. And then they kind of fell off my radar. And but then I saw that they had signed Azam Ali. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Like that was that like
Oh, I love her.
that was a very cool, like, I'm really anti-genre. Like I will call what I do, industrial or whatever because it's convenient. But but I'm really, in the end, to me, it's just if it's good music, it works, and if it's not, it doesn't. So I saw that, and let's see, I saw that, and so that was going on, and right at the beginning of the year, I was having kind of this weird reverse existential crisis because I was thinking about how, like, okay, well, I'm going to be 50 soon, and COVID's cutting everything up really bad. It's cutting it down on my ability to tour, which is kind of my main way of getting the word out about what I do. Because it's not just about the music, it's about advertising for the artwork. And so the more I tour, the more people I can get in front of, the more I can get them to follow on social media, and the more, hopefully, artwork and other things I can sell them, and then we can eat. So I wrote Christian, and I still have it in my phone. In the notes for like one day in February was like, write Christian and talk to him about Cop. I wrote him about it, and we were on the phone the next day, and he was like, so I get, like, we're not actually signing anybody. I get like 50 demos a day, but I'm actually on the phone with you. And as we were talking, it really became apparent that he runs the record label exactly the way I would do one right now. And it's very forward thinking, but more importantly, it's incredibly realistic, and very supportive of the bands. And so after about a month of kind of flirting with each other every week, we finally did the deal. And I have not been as excited or happy with being on a record label. I have not felt as supported by a record label since we were first signed to Dancing Ferret 20 years ago. Christian's enthusiasm is infectious, and he listens, and he's open to new ideas. And it's just been, I'm a huge believer. I work my ass off, and I'm a huge believer that as far as record labels go, they should be matching me. I need somebody that's going to keep up with me. It's like, I want you to work for me as hard as I am working for us.
Right.
What the label that I was on previously with this, I was very frustrated by that, because I was just like, I am a record label's wet dream. I'm doing all of my own videos. I'm doing all of this stuff. I book my own tours. I do literally all you have to do is put the record out and then get word out about it. Like, that's all you need to do, and do it well. And they couldn't really keep up with that. So having a label that's just coming up with ideas about how to get the word out is huge. It makes a tremendous difference. And then, working with John was just wonderful. I've, like all of us, we've grown up listening to his work, and
definitely, yeah.
And everything I do with audio, with music, I mean, it's all self-taught. And I told him, I was like, I am sure that I am doing a ton of stuff that's just wrong. So please tell me, or whatever it is. And, he did a great job of taking what I had done, because basically, and the songs were written more or less. And he took those, and I got the first demo he did back. And I was listening to it, and I was like, this sounds so good, but it also sounds exactly like my song.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's bugging me is I cannot tell you what he did to it. All I know is it sounds way better. And I was like, and because if I could tell you what he did to it, I would have done it. But I don't even know. And there's still a lot of stuff where I'm just like, I have no idea how you made that work, but it does. And he was
talented.
great to work with. and he was kind enough to let me debrief him after he was finished with the record. And so, he and I sat down on the phone, and we just kind of went through point by point. I was like, okay, what am I doing wrong, and how can I fix it? And he was really great about kind of, just saying, okay, this is where this problem is, and this is how you can adjust it. One of the benefits of art school is that you learn to have very, very thick skin, and you separate out what you make from yourself. You have to. If you don't, you're in serious trouble. So I tried to explain to him and to other people whenever I work with them, it's like, if there is a problem, if there's something wrong, just tell me, because like, you cannot hurt my feelings with a critique. Like, believe me. It's like, because when I critique people, they end up in tears. And that's my job. So please, I want you to just go ahead and tell me as clear as you can when something doesn't work, because certainly if you can also then offer up a solution, that is the flip side of that. But like, and to me, that's one of those the things that separates the pros, I guess, is the ones who are genuinely wanting to get better, and people who are genuinely willing to help you with that. And I really appreciate that. And I also, the fact that John is God level, and the fact that he would take time out to talk about that, and just be generally a good, nice, easy to work with human being. Hell, he texted me on my birthday, just kind of out of the blue.
Oh, yeah, no, he's definitely very down to earth.
Yeah, well, that's
very, very kind, generous.
another one about Cop that I love, actually, is because the entire back end, all the people that work there, they're all my age or older, and they're all over it. They've all been doing this their entire lives to whatever degree of it. But they know what they're doing, and there are no egos at all. It's like, everybody's just like, okay, you know more about this than me, cool. Or, oh, well, I don't agree with you, but that's fine. We'll try that. And if it doesn't work, we'll try this other thing. But there's no sense of a need to nail down their personal thing and control it and stuff. It's just, we're all working. There's just always a sense of like, we're going to do this as good as we can, because we want to make beautiful art, and we're just going to take this final run to see how much of this we can pull off. And that to me is more valuable than I can even express. Like, it's right. I felt, when I went to Christian, I was like, okay, so here's what the record's going to be. It's going to have this audiobook attached to it, and this other story, and then I'm going to have a treasure hunt in the CD. And okay, well, I'm going to have the lyrics, but I'm also going to have this entire timeline of events that explain different aspects of all the stories and stuff like that. And he was like, that sounds great, and
yeah, I mean, they're obviously very easy to work with, and I could see that. I mean, they're just my know of what I know of them. And yeah, and this CD, which is amazing, will be coming out, will be released Friday, September 9th on Comp International. If people want to check that out, they can go to copint.com. And I also have an interview coming up with Emily Rohn and John Mark Liederman for their new album, Venus. I don't know if you can see that, Venus Chariot. And I think that's coming up in sometime in September, in later September.
Jean-Marc and I we're speaking of mental illnesses. Jean-Marc and I are and Christian are in the very beginning stages of putting together something focused on that. I'm not exactly. We're still trying to figure out exactly how it will manifest, but
okay.
Something.
A new album, work together.
It will be, like I said, I'm not exactly sure exactly how it's going to manifest, but it's definitely.
Good.
Once I can get past this record getting out and everything associated with that, I'll be able to start kind of turning and looking in that direction.
Oh,
But
okay. Oh, congratulations. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
I really love. And again, this goes back to Christian. I love the fact that it even occurred to him that it was something as a record label that we could do that would be a positive thing for artists and non-artists alike to bring, using this platform that we have as a way of talking about things beyond just trying to sell music or whatever.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. Well, wow. So many, thank you for sharing all the information. Stoneburnerband.com is your website, right?
It's stoneburnerofficial.bandcamp.com.
Oh, okay. 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 Oh, it's Stoneburner Official.
.bandcamp.com.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for being on the show.
Sorry if I talked your ear off there.
No, no, thank you for, I'm glad I enjoy people that talk, that just really talk seriously. Sometimes, when you're doing an interview, they're going to say something and then they're going to stop. And then I have to say something.
Right. Yeah.
It goes with the flow, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of that, if you're at all interested, I can connect you and Donna. And if you want to talk to her at some point in the near future.
Yeah. I would love to talk to her. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Then we can talk about ego likeness more.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, because actually this interview is just for Stoneburner because of the time. We would definitely do that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But don't hang up. Don't hang up. I'm gonna stop the recording and then just don't hang up. But thank you so much for being on the show.
I'm
Okay, one moment. I'm gonna stop the recording.